We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories making headlines.
We remain prepared to hand over here in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamula says he hopes the outcome of the G20 summit in Johannesburg will leave a lasting legacy for the cause of the African continent and the global south.
We did receive over the weekend communication from the United States where they indicated that in their absence in the meeting, their preference is that there should be no declaration adopted.
Meanwhile, G20 SU's Sherpa Ambassador Xolani Mabongo says they received a letter from the US pleading that no declaration should be adopted at their summit this week.
Dockets are taken for a purpose that does not make sense, purportedly to conduct this simple process, which is to audit them.
To the Madlanga Commission, concerns have been raised over the 121 dockets that were taken from the KZN political killings task team to the National Police headquarters in Pretoria.
The list must also reflect the liberation movement character, including ANC members in alliance and key sectors of society.
And the ANC has tightened its candidate selection rules ahead of the 2026 local government elections, focusing on stricter qualification requirements, gender and youth quotas, and the option of lifestyle audits. At the back of those headlines, it's a touch just after 8 o'clock, signaling the beginning of our Monday rendezvous of Prime News on 3. My name is Paulette Nell. Welcome. Let's get straight into it. We begin with this tonight. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamula says he hopes the outcomes of the G20 summit in Johannesburg will leave a lasting legacy for the cause of the African continent and the global south. Lamula, alongside his finance counterpart Ino Godongwana and Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi, briefed the media ahead of the G20 Leaders Summit this weekend.
42 countries are confirmed for participation at various levels. This includes 20 G20 members, excluding the United States, for reasons well known to you.
South Africa says it's ready to host the G20 Leaders Summit. It will be attended by the richest countries alongside their counterparts from the developing world. But this comes as the US has indicated that it won't attend the historic gathering.
We are here and we have said we are ready to hand over to the US. But for them to, if they should be, because the handover is really ceremonial. It's a ceremonial, as we say, it's a ceremonial handover. We remain prepared to hand over here in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
Lamola also says it doesn't see it as a snub since some G20 leaders will be represented by their envoys.
At this stage, we have got confirmations that only 4 countries will not be represented at the head of state level. They will either be represented at the foreign minister level or Sherpa level.
Meanwhile, Pretoria says an investigation has been launched after a group of Palestinians landed in a hastily arranged trip last week.
Indeed, we are suspicious as the South African government about the circumstances surrounding the arrival of the plane and the passengers that were in the plane. And this matter is a subject of investigation.
Lamola further says they are confident that a declaration will be adopted at the end of the global gathering. Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, G20 SU's Sherpa Ambassador Xolani Mabongo says they've received a letter from the US pleading that no declaration should be adopted at the summit this week.
We did receive over the weekend communication from the United States where they indicated that in their absence in the meeting, their preference is that there should be no declaration adopted. However, as the presidency of the G20, this does not depend on us. We are the president, but the G20 is made up of 19 countries plus the European Union and the African Union. So as the presidency, therefore, we are guided by the views of all G20 members. So you cannot, no country can just make an appeal to the president and say, I'm not in your meeting, so don't have a declaration. But we have not really had any challenges with that in the meeting that started yesterday.
The Africa Business Summit, powered by Bloomberg, is being held from today, that's the 17th of November 2025, until tomorrow, the 18th, in Johannesburg. It will highlight Africa's growing importance in the global economy and bring together top African leaders and thinkers to discuss the key drivers shaping the continent's future and boosting its global economic influence. And more on this, we are now joined by SABC's economics reporter, Nosipo Khatebe. Good evening, Nosipo. Thank you so much for making time for us. Let's perhaps get into it, starting with this year's summit, highlighting Africa's growing role in the global economy. From what you've heard at the summit, the various featured speakers, thought leaders alike, so far, what is the single strongest signal that the continent's influence is rising in the global economy?
Well, a very good evening to you, Paulette, as well as the viewers at home.
Evening.
So, of course, today was the beginning then of the Africa Business Summit, as you point out, the two-day event that's taking place in Melrose. And it obviously builds some momentum ahead of the all-important G20 leaders meeting, which will take place this weekend. And so this summit taking place then is one of the sideline events of the B20 meetings, and the B20 of course falling under the finance track of the G20, and the finance track an important track given then that it shapes global economic sort of reform and voices, and that's where they're all heads. Well, that's the opportunity for them, for their voices to all be heard. And so, of course, then today, one of the main speakers opening up today's summit was the PIC's CEO, Patrick Dlamini. And the PIC is an important sort of organization when we look then at them being the biggest asset manager on the continent, and also their, 10% market capitalization on the JSE. So they're an important voice, and what they say, of course, investors listen to, whether it's their insights on investment, risk, a global sort of economic reforms. Of course, investors are listening. And so Patrick today just shaping out, outlining the positivity that the PIC has when it looks at South Africa's market performance, economic reforms coming off of our grey listing, as well as that SNP sort of upgrade that we got on Friday. The sentiment there quite positive coming from the PIC.
And perhaps jumping in there, as you mentioned, this summit brings together top leaders. As you mentioned the names there, any key commitments made this far that are supposed to come out of this summit?
So when we look at key commitments, of course, this is a sideline track or a sideline sort of meeting. When we look at the finance track busy discussing then debt sustainability. That also an important one when we look at the overall G20 meeting. And then there's also the issue around cross-border payments, the how much it costs for businesses to send money across the various borders, as well as remittance. Many, of course, African countries or African people send money back home, and that money, when we look at when it crosses through various borders, it sort of gets a premium, given then that the high price that it costs to actually send it across borders to the various countries, and that's issues of regulation across borders. And so those are the sort of issues that they're tackling. So of course, global business leaders, CEOs, the various CEOs that are at this summit, they'll be talking about those, looking at how we can reform the economic landscape in Africa to better serve the population, of course, the 1.4 billion people on this continent.
Yeah, and perhaps any discussions of concrete measures that will be taken to ensure that economic influence and growth translate to be inclusive opportunities for the disadvantaged, the likes of the youth, the women in the continent. Any of mentions of those?
Yes, that is, of course, an important mention. When we look at the B20 finance track, they are committed, of course, to ensuring then that whatever resolution is taken at the G20 actually helps those on the ground. When we look at debt sustainability, that is a massive one. Countries that are overburdened with debt struggle then to ensure then that their budgets go towards education, health, and the like. And so if we're paying high interest rates for our debt, if our sovereign credit ratings are low, those impact ordinary people on the ground, ordinary, Africans on the continent, emerging markets. And so these meetings, these sideline meetings, are critical then in enforcing then that our message when the world leaders meet is actually something that's top of the agenda for the G20.
All right. And lastly, Nosifa, what can we expect tomorrow ahead of the summit powered by Bloomberg?
So tomorrow we've got various speakers, the JSC, I know Leila Fourie, their outgoing CEO, she'll be speaking. And of course, that's an important one. We've seen the market rally on the local bourse doing quite well, adding about 5 trillion in terms of value in the last year. So when we look at that, we of course will get to hear from the JSC, how they sort of see the outlook for South Africa's local bourse going forward. There's also other CEOs who will be there, but of course we'll give you all that coverage tomorrow when we head back.
All right. Thank you so much. That was SABC economics reporter Nosipho Radebe for us on that. Coming up after the break, Brown Mokgotsi to take the stand at the Madlanga Commission tomorrow, and the ANC has highlighted its candidate selection rules ahead of the 2026 local government elections. More on that after the break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Here's other news worth your attention this evening. Brown Mokgotsi, an alleged associate of Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who has been placed on a leave of absence, is expected to take the stand at the Madlanga Commission tomorrow. The Northwest businessman has been placed in the center of allegations of criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. Mokgotsi has been accused of playing a middleman between alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Matlala and Mchunu. WhatsApp exchanges placed before the commission show that Mokgotsi allegedly received monetary benefits from Matlala. Meanwhile, SAPS component head of the Serious and Violent Crime Division, Major General Mary Motsepe, has sought to clarify that the 121 political killings task team, or PKTT, that were moved to Pretoria Head from KZN were, according to her, not sitting and gathering dust. This as the Madlanga Commission introduced a new stream of evidence today, which zoomed into the PKTT's 121 dockets.
SAPS component head of the Serious and Violent Crime Division, Major General Mary Motsepe, who found the 121 PKTT dockets placed under her responsibility following the disbandment announcement, has rejected the claim that the dockets were gathering dust in the Pretoria headquarters.
Dockets were not gathering dust, and by saying that an audit was conducted and the dockets would have been investigated once funding was approved. I had no involvement in the disbandment of the PKTT, nor did I have any involvement in the handing over process. Once the dockets were under me, I, of my own accord, tasked my team to conduct an audit, and if funding had been approved, the dockets would have been investigated.
The Commission further heard that the dockets were moved all the way from KwaZulu-Natal to Pretoria for the purposes of auditing, a proposition that puzzled the Commission's bench.
Dockets are taken for a purpose that does not make sense, purportedly to conduct this simple process, which is to audit them. And it just doesn't make sense that they should have come to Gauteng for that purpose. In that sense, perhaps one can, and I'm going to invite your comment on this, one can understand why General Mkhwanazi would have reacted the way that he did. If you wanted the dockets purely to audit them, why take them to Gauteng?
Meanwhile, the Commission brought a new witness to the stand, Lieutenant Colonel Tate Khumalo, who described the handover of the 121 dockets as quote-unquote messy, as he highlighted the kind of process that would have to precede a transfer of dockets.
It will also be imperative for the handing, during the handing over, that the other party be present and have ample time to go through the docket and get full explanation on why there is this statement on the A clip, whereas it's not indexed on the C clip. That explanation can be there. But in this instance, with PKTT, one must say that the handing over was messy.
Hearings continue. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Pretoria.
To this now, the ANC has tightened its candidate selection rules ahead of the 2026 local government elections, focusing on stricter qualification requirements, gender and youth quotas, and the option of lifestyle audits. Briefing the media in Johannesburg, ANC Electoral Committee Chairperson and former President Kgalema Motlanthe said the new guidelines are aimed at restoring credibility and ensuring only capable, ethical leaders are put forward.
After successive declines in electoral support, the ANC says it's taking a tougher approach to who may represent the party in councils across the country. The new rules, approved by the National Executive Committee, place strong emphasis on qualification, experience, representativity, and youth participation.
The lists must also reflect the liberation movement character, including ANC members in alliance and key sectors of society. The list must also achieve 50% or more representation of women, in line with Rule 6 of the ANC Constitution, with every second candidate a female throughout the list. It must reflect a mix of youth and age, at least 30% and 10% of each list comprised of the youth between the ages of 25 and 35 and the ages of 36 to 40.
Another major change is the enforcement of lifestyle audits, which may be triggered if concerns arise from the public or the media.
The lifestyle audit, as the rules indicate, shall be initiated by the Electoral Committee as and when it's not mandatory to everyone, but as and when questions arise from the citizenry and or the media.
Zara Groenewald, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, we're going to have to park it here for tonight. Much gratitude for joining us. The latest weather update is up next. For now, it's good night. God bless. Nda.
Thank Thank you very much and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. Time for us to look at those conditions over the country now. It is going to be a wet night as we move into Gauteng, stretching to Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Those scatter showers and thunder showers expected for tonight. Isolated over the central parts of the country. Just cloudy conditions as we move towards the Northern Cape. It is going to be a clear night as we move towards Cape Town, but we do expect some strong winds over that coast. We are talking with speed of up to 45 kilometers per hour, can gust up to 50 kilometers per hour. For tomorrow, it is also expected rainy conditions, just isolated as we move into Gauteng, stretching into Limpopo, the northwest, and Mpumalanga, and also as we move towards KwaZulu-Natal, where it's becoming scattered for tomorrow, stretching into the Free State, Lesotho, and parts of the Eastern Cape. Still expecting a clear day as we move towards Cape Town for tomorrow, stretching into that interior of the Northern Cape. Looking at our warnings for tomorrow, it is a level 2 warning of severe thunderstorm as we move towards KwaZulu-Natal, the same area where we had that 60% chance of showers and thunder showers for tomorrow. Do remember, the severe thunderstorms can be accompanied by a large amount of small hail, heavy downpours which can lead to flooding, and also possibilities of strong damaging winds. So please, let's be careful over those areas. Moving into that interior of the Northern Cape, we do expect runaway for fire conditions for tomorrow. So please, if you do see any sign of fire, do report to the local authorities. Overnight temperatures, it is going to be a cool night over most of the country, talking 17 over Musina, 11 over Pretoria. So it should be a cold night over Johannesburg with a minimum of 10. Sunderland dropping down to 17 as we move into the mother city for tomorrow. Do remember, it is a clear day over Cape Town for tomorrow, but strong winds as we move towards that coast. We're expecting a temperature of 25 for tomorrow during the day. So it should be warm. Should be a hot day as we move towards Appleton with those runaway for fire conditions for tomorrow. Warm conditions over Farabag, stretching to all the way into Mahikeng, but should be cool conditions as we move towards Johannesburg with those isolated showers and thunder showers for tomorrow. Durban expecting high of 24. Also expecting a warm day as we move up north over Musina with a high of 23. That's all the weather I have for you. Stay tuned.